Any questions from the room?
So, not the results you guys wanted. How was it? And just the summary of a game, perhaps. How has it been, coach and player?
Yeah, I think, obviously not the result we wanted. I think it probably was a fair result. I think Australia took the chances that they had, and I think we probably didn't. I think we got on the wrong side of the ref as well, which probably didn't help our cause. We spent kind of a lot of our pressure ended up getting turned over due to ill discipline. So, obviously frustrating, but it was a proper test match out there. I think, both teams had to play right up into the 80 whatever minute. And I think, the heart that we showed to stay in the fight, come back from, I think it was 21-0 down at one point, to take it right up to the last minute is not where we want to be, but I'm proud of that fight to be able to get ourselves in a position to win the game.
Coach, are you just proud of the fight?
Yeah, I think so. I think as Rachel said, from 21-0, it was we probably had a lot of pressure that second half and probably just didn't quite turn into points. First 20, 25, probably let them into the game a little bit too easily. But yeah, I think it was quite tough for us to take. Obviously, to play the last 20 minutes down to 14 and down to 13 was always going to be tough. But the fight that we showed, it was difficult to take. I think there was quite a lot of things out there that I'm not overly happy with. But we'll speak to Ward before on that.
So even when you were down in your personnel, of course, on the field, you were still hanging in there and you were actually taking it to the Australians near the very end as well, got very close as well. What do you put that down to in terms of facing adversity in the team, but still hanging tight and being able to almost push into the limits?
Well, that's what this team's all about. That they do fight for each other. They do. If suffered a lot of adversity in this group, and that's something that they do and will continue to do, is to fight. But yeah, look, I think there were times where we got into positions where we could have done it, and we were probably just on the wrong side of some refereeing decisions around a breakdown, which I thought was really messy. But yeah, look, I think that's something that we're always going to do. Is we're going to keep our teams, and to be 21-0 down and to be in the game with 13 players on the pitch up to the 80th minute says an awful lot about this group. I think we look at the summer that we've had. We look at the last 12 weeks. We've capped new players. We've got a big squad now that we can pick from. We've won 4 out of the last 5 games within this block as well. So we're understanding that we're building for a Rugby World Cup. It's a World Cup year. We obviously wanted to win this competition, but we'll take a lot of learnings from this. We'll see the fight that they've got, and we know that they've got that. But it's just about making sure they take their chances when they do get those opportunities.
Yeah, there was, in a sort of way, one could say, rather than a game of 2 halves, a half of 2 quarters. The first half was really two parts. Do you have any particular explanation for what went wrong in the first part? When you went down to 21, for example, you had unusual problems with the handing. Your handing normally is much more reliable. You made several mistakes with ball in hand, missing ball. Is there any particular explanation?
It was very stop-start the first half. I thought there was a lot, there was a lot of penalties, like discipline from a defensive point of view in terms of rolling away and for hands and ruck. It was very stop-start. I mean, we did have the ball, we probably forced it a little bit. It was a difficult game to get into, but then when we scored, from 21 down and then came back into it, we were really quite, at half time we weren't happy with what we'd done first half, but we knew that if we kept going, we knew that we were more disciplined, we'd get back into it, and I thought it was all us for the first 20 minutes of the second half. We just needed one more score and we'd put them away. I thought, from a fitness point of view, and we were in great shape, but then for them to fight with 13 players on the pitch was really difficult.
Coach, you obviously won the WXV Tour last year and made a lot of progress. Now it's the end of the competition, go next year, the Six Nations, if I'm correct, and then the World Cup. I'm sure this defeat hurts, but doesn't take away the progress that you've made, and you must be also optimistic about next year's World Cup.
That was our goal coming into this year. When we met up in the end of July, obviously we've got a longer term goal, which is Rugby World Cup. But there are also this competition, Six Nations, and moving forward that we want to obviously want to win every game we play for Scotland. That's what we're all about. So we've got a winning mentality. We want to push, but with the long term, with your eye on something else in terms of World Cup. Obviously, we are happy with how we are progressing. We're making good progress. We're a team that teams are coming after now because of the way we are performing. But we'll look at the whole block. We'll look at the new caps that we've got. We'll look at the team that we have. These guys will go back to their clubs. They'll have a good block of rugby going on. We'll continue to be in touch with them. And yeah, look, it's been a decent block, but we've just not finished the way we wanted to finish.
As a player, you look very disappointed, and rightfully so. But how do you deal with that and then set new goals for yourself, especially with the eye to the World Cup now?
Yeah, I think it's important to feel the emotions of defeats like that. I'm never been a captain who tells their team that they have to pick themselves up immediately after, particularly at the end of a tournament. And I think it's important that you reflect on what went well, what didn't go well, and learn from it. And this was always a 14-month program going towards the World Cup when we came in the summer to prepare for this tournament. But ultimately, we've set out right from the beginning that this is about preparing ourselves for the World Cup. And I think the important thing that we've done is build foundations. We've got players game time that haven't necessarily had a huge amount at this level, and I think we're not going to compete at a World Cup with 15 players. We're going to need a 30-man squad to allow us to achieve the goals that we've set ourselves for next summer. So it's about reflecting, it's about learning, and I think we have time to let this one hurt, and we'll use this as fuel to make sure next year we're more prepared. We learn from the mistakes that we've made over the last couple of games, and we come back stronger.
Perfect, thank you. I will open up to those of you who are online.
Brian, when you say there were a lot of things out there you weren't happy with, were there specific decisions that you thought were wrong or unjust?
I thought the breakdown was messy, but I genuinely thought, I'm not going to make too much of it. I don't think now's the time. I'll have a look at it, but I thought it was, I know Emma got done for a head-on-head, which was right, but it was 3 or 4 out there that were missed. But that's not the reason. Certainly not the reason why we didn't come on the right side of the scoreline, but we'll certainly be looking at 2 or 3 things.
What was the key to coming back from 21-0 down, and could you have done anything differently to avoid being in that position?
I think we kept a hold of the ball. That was it. I think we just keep up the ball a little bit cheaply that first half or that first 20 minutes. We didn't really put the pressure on the opposition that we wanted to. There was a couple of decisions from a line-up point of view that, again, from a technical point of view that we weren't overly pleased with around decision making in there, which would have then allowed us to put pressure on opposition. Once we spoke and once we got a little bit clarity around what was happening on the field, we were able to put pressure on the opposition a little bit more, keeping ball a little bit more, and you saw when we did that Australia were falling away, and I think one more score would have put them away, but it wasn't to be.
Rachel, just in terms of the end of this block, how do you sort of reflect on it, and what do you sort of want to see when everyone comes back in and sort of every match when we make it up?
I think in terms of reflecting on it, I think there's a lot of areas that we wanted to improve on off the back of last season, and I think our attack has definitely taken a massive step forward, particularly in the goal zone. I think we've said a lot about the strength and depth of this squad, and I think we've proved that this tournament, and I think we can take a lot of confidence in the way that players who've come into the squad, had first starts, had a lot more game time off the bench than what we've traditionally had. And I think reflections on this tournament is that we've put ourselves in a really good position to springboard into the next 12 months, and it's super disappointing that we couldn't see out that game, because I think that is a key learning as well for us, and I think we've probably learned how to do that, and today's a wee bit of a step back in that respect, or at least it feels that way at the minute. But we'll look at it, we'll come back, we've got test matches all next year with Six Nations and Summer Tour and stuff like that as we go into the World Cup. And I think, you know, we will prepare ourselves to deal with those situations better in the future. And I think, like, it's disappointing at the minute, but there's positives in there. But ultimately, I don't think we've hit anywhere near our potential in the last 3 games. And you know, that's ultimately why we're on this side of the result today and in this competition. And I think, you know, there's a lot more in us, which, you know, we've got 12 months to find and to fix. And I've got no doubt that we've got the right people in this group, in this management team to allow us to do that.
Brian, do you feel the same as a lot more in the group?
Yeah, I do think there's a lot more in the group because it's. I think there's a really exciting group. I think there's a really exciting group of players, but you know, we've probably pushed on so much that we've set our standards. We've set the bar quite high. Rachel's right. Maybe we've not quite hit the heights that we wanted to in this competition. We have made strides in certain areas. There are areas of the pitch that we want to improve in as well. But look, we are moving in the right direction. We do have a 12-month goal now for that Rugby World Cup, and there's the 6 nations within there as well. So we will go back, we'll reflect, we'll review, we'll look at areas that we're happy with, we'll look at areas we want to improve on, and we'll certainly be pushing on for the next competition that comes.
Very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you soon.